All right, so we're going to look at something pretty interesting today. We're talking Ben Franklin,
Oh, Ben Franklin.
the penny saved, penny earned guy. But this goes way beyond, just saving your pennies. This
Right.
is like next level.
Yeah, he was thinking big picture, always thinking ahead, that Ben Franklin.
Exactly. So we're talking about a 200-year microloan experiment
Wow.
that he set up. And we've got excerpts from articles, even a peek inside a book about Franklin's life to kind of piece together this whole story.
Yeah.
And it all revolves around this trust fund that he establishes right before his death in 1790.
Fascinating.
So it's a story. It's got twists and turns. It's got a little drama.
Okay.
You're going to see how Franklin's vision played out over 2 centuries, the good, the bad, and the just plain interesting.
I like it.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1790, less than a year before Franklin passes away, and he adds this codicil to his will. He sets aside about $4,000,
Okay.
split between Boston and Philadelphia.
Both very important cities to him.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, Boston is birthplace.
Right.
But Philadelphia, really where he made his mark.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. He didn't just say, here's the money, spend it as you please.
Right. He's got a plan.
He's got a plan. This is Ben Franklin.
Always a plan.
Of course.
And the plan is he wants this money loaned out to young tradespeople who are trying to get their businesses off the ground, which is a really cool connection back to his own life.
Absolutely. The through line to his life as a printer, he always believed in the power of skilled trades.
Right.
And not just for the economy, which of course is important, but he saw it as a way to build character, build good citizens.
Right.
And he had a great quote about this. Good apprentices are most likely to make good citizens. So you can really see how he saw these loans as a way to invest in the future of these cities in a really tangible way.
Absolutely. But 200 years is a long time.
That's a long time to bank on anything.
Even Franklin, with his almost like uncanny ability to kind of predict the future, had his doubts. He did. He called it a vain fancy at one point, because even he realized how unpredictable things could be over that kind of time span.
It makes you wonder what he would think now, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we will. So how did it actually go? Let's jump into it.
All right, well, for the first 100 years or so, things mostly went according to plan. These funds were active. They were helping out blacksmiths, coopers, carpenters, all essential trades back then,
Right.
just like he envisioned.
I bet there are some awesome stories of people who got their big break.
Oh, absolutely.
Ah.
There's a bunch of them highlighted in the articles we have, like real success stories thanks to Franklin's loan. But there was a catch.
Okay.
He had rules.
Oh, yeah. Good old Ben Franklin was nothing if not particular.
To say the least. He was very specific about who could get these loans.
Like what?
All right, so the borrower had to be male, under 25, married, and a skilled mechanic who had completed an apprenticeship.
Oh, wow.
It's a very different time.
Times change.
They do, and by the late 19th century, those rigid requirements started causing problems. The whole apprenticeship model. It was starting to fade out, and people began criticizing the trust for being, well, a little stuck in the past.
I can see the headlines now. Franklin's Trust, outdated and out of touch.
Pretty much. There's actually a great anecdote about the Boston Globe. Back in 1884, they called the trust inflexible because so few people fit the criteria.
Wow. It makes you wonder what Ben would think about all the, gig workers we have today and things like that.
Right. But that's the thing about society, right? It changes, it adapts, and even the best laid plans sometimes need a little tweaking.
Right.
So eventually they dropped that apprenticeship requirement, although some of the other restrictions stuck around. And that's where things get really interesting, because Boston and Philadelphia, their funds started to look very different.
Different how?
Okay, by 1890, so a full century into the experiment, Boston's fund had grown to a pretty hefty $327,000.
That's okay.
Philadelphia's was lagging behind at $70,000.
Oh, wow. Okay, what happened there? Did Boston find some secret stash of lucky pennies?
I wish. No, it all comes down to that good old power of compound interest.
Oh, okay.
It turns out that seemingly small difference in investment choices made by the two cities,
Yeah.
they snowballed over time.
Yeah.
So even though they both started with that same $4,000,
Yeah.
those different approaches had wildly different outcomes.
Okay, so imagine you're in Boston. 1890 rolls around. You've got this surprise pile of cash just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
Time to celebrate, right? Break out the champagne.
You would think so, right? But as we'll see, that wasn't exactly the case. Things were about to get a whole lot more complicated. especially in Boston. Remember how Franklin had that nagging feeling about things getting unpredictable?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out his vain fancy wasn't so far-fetched after all.
Okay, I'm already getting like some serious be careful what you wish for vibes from this whole Boston thing.
You and me both.
Yeah.
So 1890 rolls around, and both cities are allowed to spend 75% of the funds
Okay.
on public works projects.
Yeah.
Philadelphia goes ahead and establishes the Franklin Institute,
Right.
which you might know is that amazing science museum and educational center they have there.
Right.
Pretty fitting tribute
Yeah, totally.
to good old Ben.
Yeah.
But Boston, they took a detour, a long and winding detour.
Oh, boy.
Think about this. They spent a whole decade arguing about how to spend this surprise money.
Oh, no. Really?
Oh, yeah, it was a mess.
What were some of the ideas being thrown around?
Well, some people just wanted to be practical, pay off the city's debts.
Okay.
Kind of boring.
Yeah.
Others wanted to build a giant public bathhouse.
A bathhouse.
A bathhouse. Can you imagine?
I mean, it's practical.
I guess.
Maybe they just wanted to feel like Roman emperors or something. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
And get this. One group actually campaigned for a giant recreation hall
Okay.
right in the middle of Boston Public Garden.
Wait, what?
Seriously.
I'm not kidding.
So are we talking like a giant bouncy castle? What kind of recreation?
It's kind of hilarious in retrospect, right? Yeah.
All these competing ideas. Everyone wants their pet project funded, all vying for a piece of Franklin's pie.
And it got a little heated. Heated how? Did they start challenging each other to duels with quill pens?
Not quite. But remember how Franklin had that nagging feeling about things getting unpredictable?
Yes.
Well, it turns out those vain, fancy fears weren't so far-fetched after all. Some city officials were even accused of dipping into the fund.
No way.
Oh, yeah. For personal trips.
Oh, no.
Talk about a scandal.
Ben Franklin rolling in his grave.
Spinning. It took years to sort everything out. Let's just say it wasn't Boston's finest hour.
So after all that drama, what happened to Boston's share? Did they ever build that giant recreation bouncy house?
No, they did not. In the end, they decided that establishing a trade school would be the most fitting way to honor Franklin's goal.
Okay.
And get this, they got a little help from another big-name philanthropist, Andrew Carnegie.
Wait, that Andrew Carnegie? Mr. Steel Tycoon Library for Everyone himself?
The one and only.
Wow.
So Carnegie swoops in, offers them a matching donation, but on one condition.
Okay, what's the catch?
They have to use the trust fund to build the school.
Ah, okay.
Talk about a power move.
Yeah, well played, Mr. Carnegie. Well played. So that's how we got the Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology.
You got it. Founded in 1908.
Wow.
Started as a trade school and then eventually grew into a 2-year technical college.
Nice.
So even with all the drama, Franklin's vision for practical education, it lived on, at least in Boston.
It's pretty amazing to think that a plan cooked up in the 18th century could have an impact for over 100 years, right?
But hold on, we're only halfway through the story.
Right.
20th century, what happened? Did they finally build that bathhouse?
You know what? That's a story for the second half of our deep dive.
Oh, man. All right.
Because the 20th century brought its own set of surprises.
I bet it did.
Especially when it came to those ever-growing funds.
Okay.
Buckle up, because we're about to see just how much those pennies multiply.
All right, so 20th century.
20th century, those trust funds, they're got to be bursting at the seams by this point.
Oh, yeah, those funds, they just kept growing, proving that whole thing about compound interest. It really is.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
It is.
So as we move into the 1900s, those strict rules that Franklin set up, they started to loosen up even more.
Yeah, times change.
Right.
And those rules about, who could get the money, what it could be used for, they became a little less rigid, shall we say.
So less about funding your blacksmithing business.
Right, not so much about the blacksmiths anymore. It really opened up the possibilities.
So what kinds of things were they using the money for by then?
Well, for instance, between the 1960s and the 1990s, thousands of medical students in Boston, they got their degrees with help from Franklin's fund.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
A loan from beyond the grave.
Ben Franklin reaching through time.
That's amazing.
Helping people become doctors. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's wild. So by the time we hit 1990, the big 200-year mark, how much are we talking about here? What did that initial $4,000 turn into?
Okay, get ready for some big numbers.
Okay.
By 1990, Boston's fund had skyrocketed to $4.5 million.
What?
Philadelphia's was no slouch either, at $2 million.
Wow.
Talk about return on investment.
That's incredible. I mean, you start with $4,000, you end up with millions.
That's the power of time
Yeah.
and smart investing.
Right. But I have a feeling those bicentennial celebrations, they probably came with a whole new set of, debates and disagreements.
Oh, of course.
Because now we're talking about real money.
Yeah. Everybody's got an opinion when it comes to that kind of money, right?
Exactly. So what happened? How did it all play out?
Well, Philadelphia, they played it a little bit safer this time around.
Okay.
They decided to focus on job training programs for high school grads,
Okay.
Practical stuff.
Right.
And they continued to support the Franklin Institute, which,
That makes sense.
yeah, good call. Learned their lesson about the bathhouses. Exactly. But Boston, on the other hand,
Oh, here we go.
remember that technical college they established way back when?
Yeah, the Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology.
Right. Well, they decided to make a bold move.
Okay.
They claimed that according to a 1958 law, they were entitled to the entire $4.5 million.
A whole thing.
The whole kit and caboodle.
Wow. What was their logic there?
So their argument was that this 1958 law, basically, it kind of pressed the reset button on the whole trust thing.
Okay.
And it made them the sole beneficiary.
Interesting.
It was a long shot, for sure.
Yeah.
In fact, back then, the state Supreme Court, they said, nope, not so fast.
Right.
But this time around, the Institute figured, hey, why not give it another shot?
So it's like a legal rematch.
Centuries in the making.
This is nuts.
And get this, they actually won.
No way.
Oh, yeah. After a long legal battle, the Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology, they got the entire $4.5 million in 1994.
Wow. I guess Ben Franklin really did leave a lasting legacy, even if it came with, a side of courtroom drama.
It's a wild story, right?
It really is.
But at its heart, it's really about the power of an idea.
Yeah.
Franklin believed in empowering people through practical skills and education.
Right.
And that vision, it resonated for centuries after his death.
It makes you think, if he were alive today, what kind of social experiment would he cook up?
I don't know.
Maybe like a self-driving carriage powered by lightning or something.
Right, or a printing press that runs on good intentions.
Exactly. That's Ben Franklin for you, always thinking ahead, always innovating.
Always looking for a way to make a difference.
Exactly. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into Benjamin Franklin's 200-year microloan experiment. From humble pennies to millions of dollars, legal battles, unexpected twists, it's a story that shows even small actions can have a ripple effect across generations.
Absolutely. A great reminder that we can all make a difference.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.